Star Wars Trilogy Arcade hit the US in 1998. The game was developed by Sega and published by Sega and LucasArts. R.I.P. LucasArts. The arcade was an on-rails first-person shooter that put you in the cockpit of an X-Wing, snowspeeder, and on the seat of a speeder bike. However, the game also put you on the ground to shoot and destroy stormtroopers. And even have lightsaber duels against Boba Fett and Darth Vader. The game featured 3 core levels, or what the game calls missions, which you could tackle in any order. The first was Episode 4's Battle of Yavin over the Death Star.
Lock gas boils in attack position.
The second was the famous Battle of Hoth, which took you both outside the Rebel base, taking down AT-ATs, then inside to defeat snowtroopers and wampas that were roaming around the innards of the Rebel base for some reason. The third mission took you to the forest moon of Endor, where you had to ride at high velocity on a speeder bike while destroying enemies. This level was a tad different due to the fact you kind of had to steer in a way to avoid obstacles. Even though the game was an on-rail shooter, you had to gauge for trees while shooting and move left or right to avoid them if they got too close. The second half of the mission involved you defending Ewoks, shooting stormtroopers, and ended in an epic AT-ST boss fight. The final stage, the Space Battle of Endor, could only be accessed after defeating the previous 3 core mission stages. This level placed you in an X-Wing to defeat the second Death Star, fighting alongside the famous Millennium Falcon and Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, you can call me Billy D.
Yes, Lando, yes.
There were also 2 bonus stages / missions. This involved you holding Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber, and it felt pretty good to control. The first bonus stage had you deflecting blaster fire from Boba Fett on Tatooine. You did this by moving your joystick in the direction on the screen. It seemed simple, and it was, but the stick rumbled when you deflected a blast, and it felt extremely satisfying. The second bonus stage was a one-on-one fight with Darth Vader on the second Death Star. Both stages felt unique and fun, and broke up the mindless blasting of the core missions. The arcade featured a joystick with 2 trigger buttons, one on bottom and one on top, as well as 2 start select buttons. The joystick was solid, and you could fire as fast as you could pull the trigger, without any sort of reload mechanic. However, for your on-the-ground segments, you did have an overheat mechanic, so you had to limit your spamming to certain sections of the mission. The arcade featured a variety of different style cabinets, from an upright standing cabinet to a sit-down single version with an enclosure on the back of the chair. There was even one model that could seat more than one person. The game wasn't multiplayer, but it was just so your friend or wife could watch you play the game while sitting next to you. The game, of course, treats Star Wars with the care and respect it deserves, and includes the same sound effects you hear in the films, as well as the famous John Williams score. The game was released just 5 months before The Phantom Menace hit theaters in December of 1999. Star Wars Trilogy Arcade was wildly popular and pretty common to find inside movie theaters, and it's also an absolute blast to play. The arcade was unfortunately never ported to any home console, but if you want to own a small piece of Star Wars arcade history, you can purchase a full cabinet starting around $3,000 to $5,000 based on size and condition of the cabinet itself. Star Wars Trilogy Arcade never saw an official sequel either, unless you count Star Wars Battle Pop, which I personally don't. If you ever get a chance to play it, I highly recommend you do. It's extremely fun for an on-rails shooter. Have a request for an arcade corner? Tweet me and include #ArcadeCorner. For more videos like this and everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place here on Shacknews.com.
Use the force.
Next time on Shack's Arcade Corner.